boom. Do-do-do-do. Greetings and welcome. I am Joffrey, and today I am late by a couple weeks. Uh, Sorry. Also by a week. Yeah, a couple weeks and 3 minutes. We've got some catching up to do, I suppose. Uh, but here we are at last, finally back with the Tinto Talks. This time I was. Wait, am I not muted on my stream? I'm not muted on my stream. There we go. All right.
I can hear you on the stream.
Oh no, I meant my own copy of the stream being open. I didn't have that tab muted so I could hear myself. No, you are muted. Shush, shush, aim. Gosh, it's good to be back already. So, I was finally able to be dragged out of being distracted for the past couple of weeks because Shinto and the Japan and stuff is being talked about, and I need to know because we have lots of plans to do with international organizations in our mod, and I need to know and yap about how this all works.
No, 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 no. Be honest. The reason why this got you back out is because half the server are weeaboos.
It would be about half, isn't it? I think that's a pretty good estimate, yeah. Did Joffrey not realize we can't hear him? Oh my god. Oh, Eric. Uh, Alright. Weeb Dev Diary. Begin! And we instantly begin with Dark's worst nightmare. The religion at base gives plus 10% max literacy. Dark, I extend you the microphone. How does this make you feel? Hmm? Sad? Mad? Confused? Is he here? He left to go get a drink of water, and he's gonna say, "And back gamers," any second now, isn't he? Hello? God damn it! Yeah, he's not talking. No, he's not talking. I assume he didn't think that I was gonna be back to start yet.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's probably what happened.
yeah. He's off to go get a slurp. So I will have a slurp too of my what was this one? My clementine soda. Yum.
I am back.
Okay, so let me redo the skit again. Alright. And we're starting off the Weeb Dev Diary with Shinto. Dark's worst nightmare. Dark, I'm gonna extend you the mic. How does this make you feel? Max 10% literacy. Mad? Sad?
Really?
Yeah, max 10% literacy. How does it make you feel? Just base religion. How does it make you feel?
It's
Fuck me,
because
man.
Shinto makes them all read the light novels and the manga. That's why.
Wait, why isn't stream mode on?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just weebery.
Is that how you're gonna cope with it? It's just weebery, so it's okay. Nah,
Apparently they can't hear me.
no, they can hear you. It's just you weren't here. They assumed they couldn't hear you.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I was not here, gamers. I just
Okay.
got back.
Was it to get a drink of water though?
No.
Damn.
It was me in the restroom.
50-50. 50-50. You gotta take those dice rolls anyway. Uh, Tolerance of heretics and heathens as well is curious for Shinto. I I guess it's the whole concept of mm, your gods are just our spirits, maybe?
Well, it's due to the whole Shinto Buddhism syncretism sort of thing, Chinese
Yeah.
plus Buddhism kind of and this is what Shinto represents in EU5 as we'll read here. It's in the Buddhist religious group and it's essentially Jap native Japanese religious traditions merged with Buddhism and essentially syncretized to the point where it's impossible to separate the two. And the result of that is um, tolerance of heretical and heathen beliefs. Heretical makes sense because it's kind of this Buddhist spectrum in the Near East of, you've got Shinto, you've got Tibetan Buddhism, you've got normal Buddhism, you've got Chinese Buddhism, which has Confucianism and Taoism thrown in the mix, plus their own ancestor worship and stuff like that. Tolerance of heathen beliefs, that's a bit more kind of weird, but that's kind of just, I suppose, explained by traditional kind of like polytheistic, our gods are not necessarily your gods sort of shtick, if that makes sense.
Let me see your volume again. Vector, try talking again.
Hello.
Yeah, that should be better. That brings us much closer in line. Dark sounds like he's talking out of a vent or room away. Well, how do you know he isn't?
Do I still?
I boosted. Well, I normally have my computer's volume lowered so that it's easier for me to be heard over it. But I've boosted it back up again, so you should you two should sound more in line with me now. Good, better.
I do what I must.
Thank you all for letting me know. It's always better when there isn't audio balancing issues on our end. But I'm very curious to figure out. I mean, have we? Yeah. Oh, I bit my tongue. Ow, why did I bite my tongue? I just wanted to say I don't know what monasteries do. Have they ever told us? Fuck. Ow.
Have you considered not biting your tongue?
I didn't mean to.
Maybe in the future you should avoid that.
Bite my tongue. Ow! Fuck. Okay. I don't know what the heck monasteries do, but I'm curious. Joffrey the Hairless and the Tongueless. My tongue is already like a cheese grater has gone through it. I don't know why, but no one else I know has a tongue like that. Weird. But I can still taste, so I ain't complaining. But I don't think we know strictly what monasteries do. Maybe there's been a comment somewhere that I haven't seen because I've been gone for weeks. The monasteries? Oh.
In all seriousness, though, I imagine that they unlock a special buildings and special privileges for the clergy, to essentially represent monasticism as an institution. Because monasteries would be keepers of lore, they'd be places of learning, where there's writing, they could be cultural centers, bedrocks of the community, particularly in Japan, where monasteries and temples often very much overlap, where compared to like Western Europe, where the monastery and the church are kind of two separate branches of the same institutions.
Yeah, I think, yeah. As well, just as Eric is saying in the chat, the priest equivalent of a noble estate, just the concept of you have buildings you can make as an estate that helps with this or that. It makes you stronger. Theoretically, has some sort of passive effect on the local tile, but mostly is just there to boost the estate itself. So theoretically, monasteries allowed, you then give privileges to the estates, and it's all just in the service of making them stronger. So the idea being that Shinto is a faith that is able to have their clergy make these monastery buildings when they have the cash for it. That sounds like a fair guess to me, I imagine, yeah. And those make the estate stronger, and as a result, with this religion, it is both easier to make them stronger if you want them to be more strong and influential, and more difficult to keep them under control as a result, which is curious. But religious factions, honor and purity, that's a lot of mechanics. I'm very curious how that's going to work, because but I really like the notion that there's a lot more religions that just have all these different mechanics on release too. And as a modder, it's going to be great inspiration for trying to mess around with giving different religions newer ones as well. The Eco-Iki monks on the way to coup the Shogunate. I wish. I need to play a Shogun 2 MP on stream with someone sometime. Gotta get my Eco-Iki. I used to watch. There was an MP I remember, a PvP MP of Shogun 2. I watched someone play. It was. I think it was. Was it Alex the Rambler versus Smart Donkey? I don't remember. It was two of those OG Shogun 2 players back in the day, and they were doing a head to head of Eco-Iki versus Otomo. So the two uncommon religions, just the two religious isolate factions on the map, and that was really neat. But then it just never went anywhere, and I was sad. Boo hoo. Wonder if there can be monasteries in countries that have faiths that don't have them, like many Middle Eastern countries have some of the oldest Christian monasteries in the world. I doubt that the buildings get deleted. But it is an interesting point that I don't think there's going to be a way for minorities to be abstracted as able to build something like that, which is sad, but probably true. Right. Interesting that you go to the Ashikaga Shogunate, of course, as number one population wise. For people following the faith, and then you instantly go to like all these other ones. Like the Akamatsu clan is still almost 500,000. That's a lot of people still. I mean, for a building-based country, that is. That's a ton of people for a building-based country, which is very curious to me. I wonder how it works with how it distributes who has how many pops. And I'm sure we'll find out, but I'm very curious how they might make that work. Because this can't all just be who works a building, right? Maybe it is. Maybe it's just that they have ownership of some sort of tenant farmer thing that the peasants work on. Don't think minority religions do much of anything without access to an estate? Exactly. I could see, Eric, I could imagine there being something for those religions that have a what is it? The Muslim religions, they have what are they called? I don't remember what their estate's called.
The Demi.
Those the Demi. That estate might have some stuff that it would do in relation to minority religions, but hard to know. Oh my gosh, a clan name I recognize. I mean, actually, I recognize all of these, but the Otomo I was just talking about, which is funny. Alright. Liturgical language, Japanese. No way! Crazy. Whoa. They have a bonus to tolerance of heathens and heretics, but they still have minus 3.5 tolerance of heathens. Huh. Interesting.
We don't support those Christians here in Japan.
That's right.
Their God preaches peace and love, and that is not honorable. They are cowards.
They don't
Ignore the
decapitate
Christian
their own.
daimyo rebelling. This is a religion of peace and love.
It is pretty interesting how they have 19 holy sites, though.
Oh my gosh, Nemcraft jump scare. Hi, Nemcraft.
Hello.
I was about to say I wonder what this little sliver is. What's the 0.4% of another religion?
Probably a different type of Buddhism. If I'm looking at that sliver, it almost looks orange.
Yeah, it is that orangish gold color. That does mean it's
I'm
probably...
just surprised it's all Shinto now, though. Wouldn't there be mostly Buddhism? Or maybe
They put Shinto in the Buddhist group.
Yes.
And if we scroll down, I believe, have we seen the religion description? Because the religion description is very clear. This is meant to be Japan's syncretism with Buddhism and native, and essentially it's all-encompassing Japanese religious practice.
Which is just weird for me to think about, because they did have, like, an older Shinto faith, and then Buddhism was spread here like a while back,
Well, I'm sure
and then they
that
kind of
Yeah, but they
merged.
were, as mentioned in the description here, they were essentially syncretized to the point you can't unseparate them in Japan. So
theoretically that religion is where you'd need to go to the Ainu for. I imagine the Ainu would have similar faith still. Or maybe there'd be some pops that have such a religion in the northeastern corner. I don't know, but this is their take with it at any rate. That the kami and Buddhist deities became identified with one another, and both sets of beliefs become fundamentally inseparable. But yeah, 19 holy sites is quite a few. Um, I think that every holy site just flat out is better to have as well. I don't think there's a penalty to them. It's just that a place just makes more money if it has a holy site because people come to pilgrimage there. It's literally just tourism income. Hello, Dude Line. Hello, Tert. Ottomo were interesting to go for Christian route as they did historically. Yeah, there's interestingly they're one of the larger clans if this is anything to go by as well. So, hey, maybe they will be a fun clan to play, and if you want to go a Christian route, I'm sure there'll be events for it. It would be strange not to.
yeah, how are they going to do the Stardust Crusader achievement if they don't have a viable Christian path?
Oh, that's a yeah, that is an achievement, isn't it?
Yeah,
Are you really surprised?
it's for flipping to Catholicism and then conquering the Holy Land as Japan. You get Stardust Crusaders.
Okay.
That's so base.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. As you can see, Shinto has two currencies, honor and purity. Besides being modified through events and actions we'll talk about in a bit, the one thing to note is that fighting in battles will decrease your purity due to the fact that blood is impure. Having high purity will allow the accumulation of honor, which will be able to be used for other actions. You don't get honor from battle?
So, from what I'm understanding here, they have two currencies, and purity is used to get more honor, and then honor is presumably used for something else.
Yes, read on and you'll see what it's used for.
If
I
we
haven't read the dev diary. This is my first time.
if we had purity above 75, you get a full 1 monthly honor scaling with purity. And if it's below 25, you're seen as Oni on Earth. Yes, you're a demon. Which a whole -1 honor per month.
Which, again, this is scaling. So at 50, you get none, but I don't know if it's from 50 to 75, you get none, or does it scale up to 75?
That's a good point. I imagine it scales up to 1, or maybe it goes beyond that up when you go up to 100 or 0.
Anyway, as you read on, essentially the honor system is used for playing like internal politics games with like the imperial court and such. Whereas, so if you're trying to conquer all of Japan, obviously you aren't playing the games with the imperial court, which is why you get the honor malice, because you're viewed just kind of as a aggressive, not very good, loyal subject of the emperor.
So this is like influence then in CK3, what they did for the admin government.
The actions in the panel. Actions in the religious panel are ways of regaining purity for more simple ones, like spending prestige or money for a cleansing ritual or pilgrimage. The more expensive ones of offering a work of art or the life of a ruler. Oh yes, Sudoku. Aside these actions, the religion also features an IO, because all religions seem to have an IO in this game. Nearly all of them. which is fair, where countries can interact with different factions present there. And at the start, there's three factions: the imperial court, the shogunate court, and the religious sects. So yeah, it is really, as you were saying, Vector, tied into the religion is intrinsically linked to the nation of Japan. This is very much the Japan religion, and if someone outside of Japan was to have it, it would theoretically just not function properly, which is interesting.
Maybe just get added to the IO.
I suppose you would, but I'm not sure how that would work. Each
Choose the
faction.
most cursed campaign, convert to Shinto as Korea, and become shogun.
Yes!
True.
Each faction has some available actions at the cost of honor, though not all the factions will be available to all countries. For example, if you're at war with the current shogun, you'll not be able to access the actions of the shogunate court for obvious reasons. Okay. Yeah, the imperial, shogunate, and religious courts. And these all cost honor. The most expensive one, become shogun. Huh. Weird how that costs a lot of honor. Strange how that
And I
works.
will note they'll say this later, but becoming shogun does not actually make you the shogun. It gives you a casus belli to take the shogunate over, which
Oh,
you
so
then have to
you
fight a war for.
you have a lot of honor. You've got max honor, in fact, and you go to the emperor and say, "Hey, I am pretty based. Can I be the shogun?" And he's like, "Yeah."
And then essentially you get imperial sanction to become the shogun. But you have to actually beat the reigning shogun for that to be more than just words on paper.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
You guys don't like the 40 honor for get marriage?
I was looking at that right now, yeah. This is really funny. You need to spend 50 honor to get the authorization for conquest. Theoretically, that's what expansion means in this context, and not expansion
Oh,
through other ways. Get marriage is funny wording too. Is very eloquent English.
Yeah,
Get marriage.
I'm assuming it means you get an imperial marriage with House Yamato.
Well, I was assuming that's why you asked the imperial court. Yeah.
I highly doubt you need to ask for permission
I
to
guess
get
it's-
married to just
Well, I
anyone.
don't know. Weird shit happens. But I'm
True.
assuming that then you get some sort of long-term benefit for having an imperial princess or I
Well,
guess
it's
imperial
legitimacy, right?
prince
Because
married.
Yeah.
the divine bloodline or something from like thousands and thousands of years.
If you were descended from them, that I'm sure that would be very useful to have.
There's something that I'm curious about now. How do you think they're going to show what is it, the bloodline of the shoguns?
I don't think the bloodline of the shogun matters. It's the emperor.
Well, yeah, but I thought I could have sworn that there was something about the bloodline of the shoguns too that people talked about.
There's nothing special about the shogun's bloodline, to my knowledge. There's been a bunch of different shogun families, after all.
They've changed who the shogun is a ton, but they don't change who the emperor's dynasty is much.
Yeah.
And by much, I mean ever.
It's still the same dynasty today, yeah.
Yeah. To appease the elites, increase levies, increase tax income, demand extra payment. These are all pretty cheap. Ask the shogun for help with. Appeasing the elites sounds really nice, and it's so cheap too. That sounds like it would. I don't know what specifically it would do, but it probably would be very nice for trying to pass laws and such. Though maybe you wouldn't need to pass many laws early, so who knows. But the fact that you can spend honor to make the estates happy sounds really nice. And also the fact that having low purity makes your estates unhappy. Yeah, so you might need to bank
Makes
up on that
the
honor,
peasants very happy though.
which is
Republic
odd.
of Japan, anybody? Warmonger, zero honor?
I guess, yeah. It's very interesting that dichotomy of the peasants become really happy, which is like, oh, okay. So there's got to be a strategy, for just like make all of the estates unhappy. Just give all the privileges to the peasants. So just Peasants Republic of Japan early. Yamato dynasty had many marriages with much earlier Fujiwara clan for 200 plus years, and some of the current clans descended from the Fujiwara. Well, I'm sure they all descend from each other in one way or another, because it's a long, long period of time, everyone marrying each other, but just not documented. But the religious ones increase literacy. Increase literacy. Oh. Wow. Huh. Isn't that curious? Wow. A powerful clerical estate with monasteries being all over the place, that'll increase your literacy. You've got the base 10% literacy from the religion. You've got a religious interaction to increase literacy. Wow! Dark, I can't wait to play these guys and have my whole country reading. It's gonna be amazing.
Woohoo! I love reading.
Yes! Plus literacy. How to increase literacy with a button. There's a lot of religions in this that get crazy literacy from religion. Religion is just the way to learn to read, I guess. Ignore that printing press. Cringe.
Well, the
That's a-
printing press was exactly because people then had most people learned to read by reading their Bibles in their own languages.
Yeah. Okay, it's very true. The reason the Protestants are good with literacy is that they start printing the Bible in everyone's language, so then everyone can learn to read it. Yeah. Gotta hope the buff that affects you over time, not a magic instant button. I am sure it is. I'm sure that increase literacy doesn't just snap a finger and then make all your pops more literate. It probably increases your maximum literacy, just as the religion also has a maximum literacy, which means that you...
See, Joffrey, I think increasing max literacy would be worse because if this is a temporary buff, which I'm pretty sure it is, can you imagine teaching people how to read and then they just forget about it like 10 years later?
Well, I imagine it both increases the maximum literacy and the literacy speed, the speed that people get it, but still temporary. There's no way this would be a permanent modifier where you could just keep clicking it until eventually your whole country is just 100% forever. Literacy mana, yep. This is gonna be a thing. There is going to be a world where people are like, yeah, well, the actual meta in EU5 is just to be the Otomo clan in Japan, and you just keep being super honorable and spamming the increased literacy button, and then you'll get to 100% literacy really easily, because you have a relatively low pop count, but still enough that you can do stuff with, and then you just sit there, and then you get all the techs in the game. Wow. Wow. And then, you can do boring stuff like favor schools or keep Kami and Buddha balanced. Ugh. Boring. Boring. I want to appease the temples? No. I don't want to spend measly little 10 honor on appeasing the temples. I want literacy. None of the rest of these options matter. Go away. Wouldn't be surprised if the religion mechanics all get reworked away from mana mechanics later down the line, because you think they're trying to keep the scope down. Yeah, I don't think we've seen... Well, a lot of their mechanics do involve a meter, but the different Hindu paths that you can choose to take, only one of them involves, as a core mechanic, a ticking thing, I think. A lot of them will have something where it's you go on a scale, but I don't think any of the Hindu faiths have something that you spend. So, Depends on what you consider. Insert that meme of what is mana? Is gold mana? No, move on before that starts up. I really wanted to see what authorization for expansion does, so
I thought you were going to embrace your inner Ludi.
I'm a bit sidetracked. Read the thing.
Okay. Thank you, Victor. Jingle jangle, jingle jangle. Keep Joffrey's attention. We can persuade the Imperial Court to give us a justification to declare war on our neighbors to expand our influence, and we gain expand clan authority CB on one of our neighbors' provinces. But how does that work if no one owns land?
Read on a little and you may find out.
Read the line, Joff. And extra payments. You gain. Oh. Huh. You. Yeah. Okay. Shogun likes you less, but you use their authority to collect extra taxes and levies. Okay. Appease the temples? Yep, boring. Just as boring as I thought. It makes the temples happy. Congratulations. What? Well, what is that? Max literacy for clergy in the Age of Renaissance? Whoa! Wow! Some of the actions of religious sects allow the country to interact with the mechanics of other Buddhist religions, but you will have to wait for future Tinto talks for an explanation on those. Oh, great! So is there another IO? Is everyone that's inside that has Shintoism both in the Shintoism, like, imperial court thing, and in just a wider Buddhism IO?
You cannot escape Buddha. His grasp is greater than the world.
IOs inside IOs? But you've got no idea. There is a region in our planned mod that is going to be a large collection of city-states that are inside one IO, and that collection of city-states is also inside the HRE, and the HRE is predominantly a religion that is one IO. And they also have a magical institution that is across the continent, and that is going to be another IO. And how many is that? Like 5? So, a bureaucracy simulator. Don't be talking like that, Ibit, or I will add one for the bureaucracy because that would work too in the context of the setting. Oh, but this is religion. Yeah, this is unique advances because if you are Shinto, okay. Can we get an IO for every country? Of course! Anything for you, Nathaniel. Anything for you.
Easy work.
Easy, yeah, it's very easy. Just dynamically generate a new one every time a new country gets spawned. But Age of Renaissance, tolerance of heretical beliefs. That's not going to be useful. I mean, I guess, okay, if you are playing as Japan, like, proper, the Shogunate, and you're expanding, which is cringe. If you're playing Japan and you're expanding, that is not kek. That is cringe. Then it would be useful.
Conquer Korea and China, Japan's age-old goal.
Yeah, but it's cringe.
To sit the sun on the dragon's throne.
The correct way to play Japan is to, well, I mean, maybe conquer Korea and Manchuria. But don't conquer China. You need to break it up into pieces and then sell them all your shit. Don't integrate them into your country. You don't want that. You need to make them into a bunch of tiny, like a bunch of smaller warring states that are all like your tributaries or something, so that no one else conquers them. But then you can sell them all the stuff that you make. so that they become dependent resource economies based on you for the rest of time, and you can justify the fact that they stay that way because you're protecting their independence from each other, and as a result, they will stay your loyal subjects and also buy all of your expensive, overpriced stuff, and basically just be your colonies, giving you their natural resources that you will use to make the stuff that you sell back to them at exorbitant prices. Yeah. Gadzooks, not Chinese people in my glorious Japan. Yep. We gotta press that assimilation button. Boom. Tolerance of heretics as well? No. Tolerate them. Ugh. If they revolt, it just means we convert them faster because they'll be dead. If there's less of them, then it means we don't have as much trouble converting them. Just makes sense to me. Cultural tradition, yeah. It's fine. I think cultural tradition is going to be such a big whoop. Just a big whoop to have. Like, it's going to be annoying. I think it's going to be a great example of something that's really annoying when someone else has a lot of it, but you won't care when you get it. When you get more, you're just like, okay. But anyone else has it, you're just like, please no. Oh. Imperial province of Abelta.
You know, since the Japanese have difficulty with R's and L's.
Yeah, we do actually have, because of all the internment camps during World War II, there's a lot of Japanese people here, and we have a Japanese garden thing around our big old lake park, our biggest park in the city.
Oh, that sounds nice.
It's very nice. I don't live that far away from it either. It's just I don't think about it all that often because I've been there so many times, but it's very pretty, and they got koi fish, and the trees are very nice too, and they have like, it's designed to look like a Japanese castle with they got rock gardens and stuff too. Yeah, it's a very nice place. Very nice place. If I ever meet any of y'all in person here, that's where we gotta go. Koi fish hasting on its way to your location. Koi fish in Japan? What? I played the strongest Viking in EU5 and conquered Japan.
I mean, you know, his first video after All Under Heaven is going to be making Hasting the Emperor of China.
I know. And I'm gonna watch it too. I'm ashamed for it, but I'm gonna watch it anyway. Why does it work? Every time I think I'm out, he sucks me back in. I think if you're a country, I don't know if I'm lagging because I'm me, but I think if you're a country that has a bunch of cultures under foreign rule, like the Byzantines, cultural tradition is probably good. Oh, you mean like if you are the Byzantines, so you're the main Greek country. Lots of Greeks are under everyone else. Everyone else has Greek culture underneath them. You having more cultural tradition means it's harder for them to convert said Greeks. Theoretically. Now, in most cases, though, it just becomes a case of in that case, most of the time, it's just going to be a case of you're setting yourself up to fail less. It's like it becomes a modifier of, well, if you're in a bad situation because you lost land, people are. It's the equivalent. Okay, culture tradition. You know what this is? Most of the time, having more cultural tradition, this is the hostile core creation cost of this game, which is such a nothing burger. Because for the same reason that it's useless in EU4, where you just create a vassal and say, you take it, I'm not dealing with that core creation cost, you do. And then integrate the vassal later. You can do the same thing here! Just create a vassal and give him that land instead, so you don't gotta deal with the cultural tradition. The thing that it's useful for, though, is that cultural tradition means that you're more resistant to certain diplomatic actions, as well as things like sieges, which is very curious. So there's a lot
I
of
can't
little things
remember.
here and there that it supposedly affects.
I can't remember, but didn't cultural tradition also impact assimilation rates, as in how effectively you can assimilate other cultures?
That's influence. Influence is the offensive thing. Everything is
Oh, gotcha.
calculated the offensive party's influence versus the defensive party's tradition. And that even works out in cases such as if you have more cultural influence than someone's cultural tradition, you actually get more siege progress against them even. It shows up in a ton of little places, and it's hard to know for sure until like we've got our hands on the game how that is affected. See, generalist gaming is big economy man. I'm big diplomacy man, I like to think of myself, despite not being great at the game. Certainly nothing compared to him in any respect. But that is my big thing that I love. I love messing around with stuff like the HRE and diplomacy. And also cultural conversion and all stuff. All that sort of thing is where I really love to sink my teeth into the game. So I really wish that I knew more about the way that this stuff works, but there's just no YouTubers that got access to the game that know, so that I can dig into it and understand. Uh, I wonder if you can retain Shogunate as Catholic in this game. I'm sure you can. It just will be harder because I don't think you'll be able to get permission for it the same way. You might have to just take it by force in a more roundabout way. Yes, a fail less mechanic, but the ideal is don't fail. Exactly, but yes. So Joff is going to need it a lot because he's going to get conquered a lot. Yes, thank you. Thank you, of course. It's true. I'm going to fail a lot, whenever I play Andorra. Sounds like prestige in EU4 affecting everything a little. That's also true. So it's something that you know you want, but you don't even really consciously think about the things it's doing. Wait, does EU5 not have a prestige number? No, it does have a prestige number. It does have a prestige number. Don't get it twisted. There is in fact prestige and legitimacy. Those things still exist. Sadly, 99% of my EU4 time was on Anvinar. I don't even remember what the EU4 HRE looked like. Well, less interesting than Anvinar's HRE, I'll say that much. Something I'm planning on doing with my HRE to try and make it even remotely as interesting geography-wise as Anvinar's is by making navigable rivers. Because that's the best I can do to try and make it as navigable as Anbanar's, where the fact that it's got such a big inland sea means that almost the entire thing is very capable of reaching the sea and getting involved in the wider world as a result, except the borderlands, the eastern stuff, which is all useless anyway. No one plays there, so it doesn't matter. But moving on from Anbanar tangent, army tradition from battles, whatever. But the international organization at my fucking nose is so itchy. More Germans, less Knolls. That's a good way of describing the vanilla HRE as opposed to Anbanar, yeah. Let's move to talk about the Shogunate, which is present in the game as an IO. Of course. This is probably how. Like, we were talking about how you become the Shogun as a Catholic. This is probably how. If you're a daimyo and you become Catholic, just through this thing, presumably. But following policies appointed posts and opened the country. I guess isolationism. Never a dull day of isolationism. Stop having the country. Open the country. Stop having it be closed. Navigable rivers would make landlocked, quote unquote, nations more fun. You can get involved more. Yeah. The plan as of now, there's a couple places on our map we've been penciling out where we intend to have some really big fucking rivers that will be big enough that we want to make, because EU5 doesn't have navigable rivers, so we'll have to make a unique ocean tile that is considered a river, that is just referred to as a river and has like 0 combat width, and is also just horrible in general. Like, you won't move. You'll move very slowly in it, probably. I don't know. Actually, there's probably a way that you could, because they've got like the mechanics in EU5 for which direction the trade winds blow. So you move faster one direction, and it's considered further distance-wise. So maybe you could jury-rig that system with navigable river tiles to be like, this river flows this way. So, by just saying the trade winds go that way, down the river. That could be funny to mess around with. The leader gets great power score, exempt from forfeits. Forfeits plus 50. That's a decent amount. But being a member means can't become a kingdom or empire. You're stuck at duchy or county level, you goober. Trash. Interesting, though, that county and duchy are different. So you could become a duchy rank. You could become a great clan or something. The whole, you can only have one HRE, one China, one whatever, really restricted creativity of mods. Yes, yeah. Believe me, we're all like we're gonna have a million different like HRE style things. It's gonna be a little nuts, I'm honest. And then Dark has his own Ilkhanate thing that he's working on, or will be working on. I don't know, it's weird.
Weird? I thought it was fairly simple.
It's pretty weird. You're weird. It's weird. It's also cold.
Yes. It is.
Yeah. And it's elves, which means it's cringe.
Cringe.
Yeah. I am. Give us food access to other members. Makes sense. We can invite new members. What? How do you invite someone to the Shogunate? Pretty please, would you join? My face when the fucking what are they? What are those guys? I don't remember. Shimazu, I think, and are the ones in Shogun 2 in the southwest corner. The Shimazu begged the Philippines to join the Shogunate. Make it another sea tile terrain, and then you can tie things to that, like unit modifiers, etc. Yeah, that's the plan, Rasak. Just a unique type of sea tile. We're gonna have honestly quite a few different unique sea tile types. We're gonna make boat stuff a lot more important. Yes, it's gonna be a pretty big deal. The courts. Love me the Daikakuji court and the Jimyoin court. Yeah. Antagonism caused by actions on international organization territory will be scaled by 50%. So, yeah, this is another case of we've seen that there is a concept of an IO considers this territory theirs, but we haven't seen entirely what that does. But here's something it does. I'm sure that will be useful for you, Dark, actually, with said IO that you're going to be having. Because there's some very obvious borders of it, and if any humans get overly ambitious and yoink one of the duchies, then anyone who unites the rest of one of those kingdoms would very much have a rather cheap CB. Just like the HRE land stuff. Exactly. The Legends of Japan have been, for long, immersed in a complex political structure. Despite the emperor being the titular leader of the nation, the actual rule has been for centuries in the hands of the shogun, and even he has, for some periods, been replaced by a regent. The different clans live in a constant struggle for supremacy and authority over the land of the rising sun. I love the drip, though. Shogun Koji Ashikaga with 80 martial. Oh, this is the first time I've seen the new um the new textures for their mill, dip, and admin symbols. That's actually pretty neat. I really like the gloss on them. They're very shiny. It's like someone's playing Elden Ring and they just are like, how glossy do you want your hair? Slider all the way to the right. But that's left for you, so all the way to the right. Yeah. You'd be hated by everyone in Japan. Yeah, if you yoinked some of Japan, Japan's gonna hate you for it. I don't know what to say. Yeah. 210. So that's the courts.
Yeah,
At
the
the
Northern
top.
and the Southern Imperial Courts.
At the top of the yeah, at the top, the southern and northern courts are the two, the two top dogs. They're the emperor, but this is what's confusing me, because there's just members and then there's Shugo Daimyo.
If you read on, it will explain it.
Oh, Vector's no fun, guys. He's no
Look,
fun.
sometimes the meandering theorizing is fun and it makes sense, and other times I want to smack my head into the desk because it's explained in
the next paragraph?
future.
There's currently a bug with the ruler's name. Okay, there's two types of special statuses in the Shogun. The Shugo and the Emperor, or Emperors in this case. More on that on Friday. The Emperor is the one that is technically the ruler of Japan, although the one actually in charge is the Shogun. While the Shugo are provincial governors, giving them some nice bonuses. So like, yeah, they're dukes essentially, as opposed to a count, where some of the daimyo, or clans rather, because the Shugo daimyos are the notable daimyo, and the other ones are
Essentially the ones with substantial land holdings and official title and stuff like that, yeah. So all those ones we saw up there that had, hundreds of thousands of people, they were Shugo daimyo, almost assuredly.
I do see the Otomo there. So yeah, and then there's over 100 just other ones that are around. I can't wait to make this number balloon in our mod. Yay! I can't wait to copy paste entries.
Just imagine if you conquered all of China and added it to the Shogunate, and there were a million tiny new daimyo. 10,000 daimyo
Good.
for the realm.
Good. This will not lag the game at all. I mean, actually, with how many tags the game can handle as is, I don't know, man. I don't know how it would lag at that point. I mean, the game does run slowly, but I'm sure, like, with any luck, I'm not going to say I'm sure, with any luck by release, they'll optimize it better. Daimyo should have their own subjects, like the Oda was. Yeah, I was thinking about the fact that theoretically, the Shugo should have some of the lesser clans as their vassals as well, which would mean they could theoretically integrate them, which would be funny. But there is an action for the Shogun to either grant or revoke the governorship of a province. Oh, yes! This is good. This is very good. I like this a lot. This is very good. We're we're reaching. I think Vector. This is reaching a point where we might actually have found the system to tweak to make our Tamziata work better.
Yeah, kinda.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see more. The concept of the North and South.
I really need these systems in my hand to make any final judgment calls, because it's like some things sound good in theory and don't really feel right in practice, and vice versa.
Yeah. We've got the concept of the North and South governorates, and that works for now. We'll see when eventually we'll get our hands on it, and then You know, eventually I'll get the province map over there, right? ah, yeah. Grant or revoke ownerships. While the individual clans have the option to basically become de facto Sugo, if they manage to establish enough presence in a particular province. So they can just force themselves into being a governor. They can take it for themselves by just yoinking enough lands to be, like, hey, I have all this land, give me the title. And then I guess they can just take it themselves, but then the shogun can also just take it away regardless. Theoretically, that's how this works. Revoke, grant, claim. Yeah. Makes sense? 2 laws. So the administrative and socioeconomic laws. So okay, for how the isolationism of the country and the clan residents. So appointed clans is the idea. Yeah, the socioeconomic that concept of using like, the notion of Japan needing to open itself up is definitely like I'm sure that's something we could use to make the early game of our Tom Ziata require a lot of laws. just because like they've got there's all sorts of both IO and on a like a tag specific basis for things like the dual systems and trying to not rock the boat because of their past whenever they expand being bad and things like that. But what does it actually do? However, these actions will only be available as long as the shogunate itself has the appropriate law, and will be disabled once it centralizes control. So, clan residence law, appointed posts, yeah, enables granting, revoking, and claiming offices. And if you are the leader, then you get policy cost goes down, legitimacy goes up. It's more expensive to declare war if you're not the leader, and your prestige goes up. It's just a little bit of prestige, but every little bit helps. I don't know what that means with the exclamation mark. Policies, appointed posts, established domains. Appointed sounds like more like it's a more centralized thing than established domains. Established domains sounds very hereditary, and appointed sounds more admin style. Strange idea. When one nation annexes another, could the killed nations get an event to spawn and play as a building-based nation inside the conqueror? Food for the. I'm sure that there's a way you could do something of that sort, like with the way that CK3 has adventuring parties, and the thought has occurred to me. I don't know how I would make it work, mod-wise at least, but the thought's definitely there in my head. Especially when it comes to countries that already are of like a if something like a nation is of a particularly mercantile basis, I think it would be pretty neat if you wiped out a country that was very merchant focused and then it, like all of its trade offices become like banking houses, and the country gets tag switched into a banking country. Same with holy orders, that sort of thing. Red exclamation marks are a good thing, of course, yeah. Becoming the leader of the shogunate is something that is not granted, and is instead to be earned. The first step to take is to obtain the backing of the imperial court. With the action, become shogun of the imperial court. Faction in the Shinto IO. Okay, so you theoretically need that, which does mean that you probably can't if you're not Shinto. We can persuade the Imperial Court to give us authorization. Yep, you gain the CB. The character gains Imperial Shogun recognition. But Only he gets that. Also, you gain the CB for only 4 years, which is interesting. So the character gets the recognition forever, but you only get the CB for 4 years, which theoretically means that as long as this character is alive, it's easier to get the CB again, but you will lose it. So you need to ask again or some such thing. But would be cheaper maybe. This will grant a modifier directly to the ruler, not the country, and a CB to declare a war on the current leader of the Shogunate. If the war is declared and won while still having the same ruler, a special peace treaty can be enacted, enforcing the change of leadership. And that is all for today. Tomorrow we will have the behind the music of EU5, composing the grandest score video. Well, I've been hearing their soundtrack of quite a bit lately, just little bits and bobs of it, and I really would like to if they posted some of them. So maybe this will be a better opportunity for that. On the topic of creating a building-based country, if you conquer a country, that was brought up in a dev diary, and while he said he's never tried it out, he does not doubt that it's possible. Yeah, I'm sure it's very possible. Yeah, I definitely think it would be very doable. It would be tricky, I'm sure. It would require something specifically to check if the country is about to be annexed. But yeah, it could probably be done. But yes, and on Friday they'll be back to look at the flavor content for Japan and the Japanese clans for some more stuff. Yeah, so we got more stuff about Japan to learn about. I guess the next few days there's just more stuff to be talked about, which oh dear, there's not going to be as much time to catch up as I had thought. Well, I guess I might need to do some of the catching up on Tinto talks in some shorter videos that I can make.
Yeah. Need some videos where you're not. Well, you both are and aren't Joffrey the Rambler,
Yes.
because you ramble a lot on these streams, on tangents. But you also, when you do them unscripted, you also end up rambling as well, just in a different fashion.
Yeah, it's the catch with those is that there's a different appeal to each of them, where the unscripted ones, the unscripted rants are I find a particular topic that I want to talk about, so I'll focus in on a key thing in a Tinto talk or someone's video, and then I'll just hyper fixate on that thing. So that is the thing that someone can click on the video to get, and they will know exactly what they're getting into. But here the appeal is you click on the stream, and it's me with you guys chiming in sometimes to direct me about the entire long topic, and then also make fun of me. That's also an important part of it, I suppose.
Well, and the other thing is that here there's the interactivity with the stream chat, who often derails you.
This is
So
also true.
When you're doing just a pre-recorded video, yes, you'll ramble, but you won't have all these people encouraging your worst tendencies. All these devils on your shoulder.
Yes, but
your angle or your devil.
the angle or the devil. Yes. They do all want it, I suppose. They literally cause it on purpose. So the main problem is how you get a game over event. In CK3 it would be easy now. Yeah, that's true. On Anbanar Discord, it's being talked about creating an army-based country as orcs or the command conquer and destroy nations. Well, that's a different case entirely, because if you're an orc or the command, you already are an army-based country. So if you get annexed, you wouldn't lose your you would still be in the game as an army, even if you lose your land. It's just that you'll fight to make sure that doesn't happen. Because like the Golden Horde will still be alive as long as their army is, even without any lands. But it's just that that's not going to happen because they're going to fight and then get their army destroyed and then fall apart. So for the, which is what happens canonically to the command in Anbanar, where they fight as an army-based country, and they get their asses beat eventually, and then they splinter into a million pieces because they're an army-based country, and it's the perfect example of one. Yes. Oh, it was Nathaniel who mentioned that. I do need to play some more Anbanar too. Just single player Anbanar again. I mean, orcs are the command conquer and destroy a landed tag, and then that spawns an army-based country as the survivors. Oh, yeah, that would make sense. That is a very flavorful thing for that situation. Would be quite accurate to what happens a lot of the time with the heroic realms of Shakmabad, Shakmabad, or whatever they they call it. I don't remember what that place that they start having conquered is. But I suppose I could briefly skim through some of the comments. I don't think that there's not much left to the imagination here, though. God, EU5 mods have endless potential. They really are going to go absolutely nuts. I am very excited to end up digging my hands into it. I can hardly wait until the actual release date is announced for EU5, because theoretically that's what I'm going to be waiting for until I properly start making any videos discussing our plans. Just officially speaking, because we'll talk about some stuff here and there, but it's usually in a more vague sense. But once EU5 is officially announced, date-wise, that's probably when we're gonna do some more, actually narrowing in on what we're planning for it. I've got some work to do before that though. Guardian system? Non-binding point system? Big stability hit if you commit Sudoku. Yeah. Covering Buddhism. Yeah, talk about it later. Not that much granularity. Oh, what the? Does the instant manpower and gold from demand extra payment actually come from Ashikaga stockpile, or is it generated from nowhere? It's abstracted, giving extra tax and manpower for generation for a while, and everyone is mad. Everyone is mad.
Everybody disliked that.
Yes. No, I never actually played any Telltale games. I watched some of my friends play, but I never did myself.
Yeah, same. I never played them either.
High purity. There's some other ways, like events to gain honor.
All games are good.
The building-based countries work in this. Yeah, they'll talk more about it later. Talk about it later. Shogun abilities. No, you will have the Shogun abilities of EU5. That's a funny question. Will we have the same Shogun abilities of EU4? No, you will have the Shogun abilities of EU5. They cannot take the Shogun itself, they'll have to dismantle it. So the Emperor will have a way that they can dismantle the Shogunate. That is very curious. Buddhism mechanics. The Inca Emperor converting to Shinto apply for the position of Shogun. The Shogunate itself is limited to the Japanese. This is very sad. This is so sad. Why can't I
Out
ask?
for the Korean Shogunate.
Why can't I join as Korea? Why can't I as Korea convert to Shinto and then ask permission to take the Shogunate? Hello, RCM. You are arriving just as we're wrapping up, but nice to see you. Yeah, no nonsense allowed, indeed. Very sad. The two emperors. When there are two emperors, which one will they target? It's to represent general interaction with the court, no matter which one your clan supports. So it does not have specific Okay, well, huh. So theoretically, there's none of the interactions with the Imperial Court have like events that will pop up for the faction itself. It's both sad, but also probably a good thing because you could get swamped with events if you're playing as one of the courts and everyone supporting you keeps doing this. It's going very well, RCM. It's going very well.
There's one thing I'm curious about. How do you play as like the Emperor themselves?
Uh,
You
defeat the
can-
other emperor and pass laws.
Yeah, they've said that you can play as the Emperor, and there's a way of, dismantling the Shogunate and ruling all of Japan in your own name, a la Meiji Restoration, but they haven't elaborated on it at this point.
That's going to be on Friday, I imagine.
Surely.
And obviously, that is the only true, proper, and correct way of playing Japan, not with these puppet shoguns ruling the country.
No,
Yes.
Vector. The only way to play is be the Fujiwara and rule through regency.
Can an IO be a vassal of another IO? Can I mod an IO Italy, which would be a vassal of the IO European Union? IOs are not vassals. Countries that are, you could tie to their leaders, though.
So the answer is basically yes, because you can make the leader of the Italy organization a vassal of
Yeah.
the leader of the European Union organization.
Yeah, it's just that you can't. There's no way that the IO is considered a vassal, quote
But
unquote,
you don't
unless you.
need to, because what you can do is just have the aisles like stack on top of each other.
Yeah.
So the European Union one would be composed of the leaders of all the individual organizations.
Unless you theoretically, like, you could also theoretically have an IO where it is like, oh, here's like the international organization for the Kingdom of Flubberland, and the Kingdom of Flubberland is a title that some other guy has. You have the king of some place, I don't know, Pretzel. Kingdom of Pretzel is also the king of Flubberland, but the Kingdom of Flubberland is an IO and it's split into a ton of different counties. So that guy, the Kingdom of Pretzel, he's technically also the king of Flubberland. So all of those guys are a vassal IO technically, even if he's just, but the guy who's the king is just like a member of it, and I guess that's how
It
you could
wouldn't
have
be a
it be.
vassal of the other tag because it's not like one king is taken over this IO. He's just the leader of both kingdoms. So it'll be a personal union situation.
Well, it wouldn't be a personal union in that context because you're representing a kingdom being. It's like a titular kingdom, but it's not enforced, is what I'm saying. Where it's like he has
Yeah,
this
but the way
titular
you're
title of
explaining it
I'm
is
the
that this
king
guy
of this
is
area.
simultaneously. The way you're explaining is that he's simultaneously the leader
Yeah.
of both nations, right?
Yeah, so the idea is that there's a guy who's a king, and he's technically a king of two realms. So like Dark has an example of a place where that very realistically could happen. But the idea is like you've got two kingdoms. One of them is broken up into a ton of tiny tags, and the other one right next door is all one tag. And that larger tag is the king of both. Like both.
Yes, but what I'm explaining is
But-
that wouldn't really be like at least the way you are putting it wouldn't be a vassal situation because they're both at least whichever the leader has in the one that's broken up would still be like relatively equal. However, the personal union mechanics works, right?
No, it wouldn't be with person. Actually,
Because
well,
it's
theoretically,
it
it could be personal union mechanics, but I wouldn't be.
would just be
That's
because
me making it a kingdom thing. Perhaps is making it more confusing for you, but the point is that if you had an IO that is a bunch of guys, there's a ton of guys. The Swiss, for example, are going to be an IO. if the Swiss Confederacy is in the HRE, that is technically a vassal IO of the HRE, in so much as
Yes,
every
it's
single
just done
member
through
is
the
inside
leaders
it.
themselves, because the leader of the Swiss Confederacy is a member of the HRE.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's done. It's not through leaders like they were splitting earlier. Because the leader, the way it's explained is that the leader of the Swiss Confederacy gets all their taxes, right? Let's say from the other members of the Swiss Confederacy, but then he too will pay taxes to the emperor.
Yeah, Gemalt. I was trying to get at the fact that that doesn't work with union mechanics, but it was confusing Nemcraft, so that's why I changed the analogy that I was trying to make so that we could both understand that we both agreed and we're making the exact same point and we're talking in circles.
I love talking in circles.
We've been here before. Timing modifier. What? People don't like this. Would Wouldn't it be better to give the diamond modifiers that increase the percentage of manpower and taxes? Oh, it's this. It's Matfer. It's Matfer leading the crusade.
Who's Matfer?
He's a common viewer, or at least he was. Maybe he won't watch me anymore because I disappeared for 2 weeks. Who knows? But he is a common viewer. He's a regular, and he makes lots of comments on the Tinto talks. So if he does see this, he'll be pleased to know that I pointed this out. He will say some comment like, "Oh, yes, finally getting recognition by Joffrey." Yeah, but this is very typical of him to find some specific thing and then point it out and say how it could be done better. Which is great because he does love EU5, but he is a very he among other people has a very important role in the fact that they point out things that are still constructive criticism, and it reminds us all how grateful we are, or at least it reminds me how grateful I am whenever I see one of his posts giving constructive criticism, and then the developers disagree with it by saying like, well, it's just not really worth it in here. The abstraction is just better than the complexity in this case, we feel. And then everyone says tons of negative, everyone's disagreeing. And it makes me happy when I see this because I'm like, damn, this is what we're complaining about right now. This is a good thing. What we're complaining about when we see this Japan dev diary is being like, oh my goodness, when you do an interaction to ask the Shogun for extra troops and money, it does not actually take it from the Shogun. Instead, it just gives it to you. This is so terrible. Worst thing ever, desk flip. So, if that's what we're upset about, then that's a good thing.
It's the same thing I note about in CK3, where when you ask for, what was it? What's that interaction? Extort subjects. It doesn't actually take the money from your subjects. It just spawns it out of thin air.
If it did take it from them, it would just break them. Your subjects would all just go bankrupt forever. Which, hey, that would be a good consequence to have, but I imagine that's the reason. Money and manpower coming from the ether. Yes, it is so terrible. It is the worst thing ever. It's so unrealistic. I could die. Iko-Iki are one of the other religious followers that can generate more factions. You assume well.
So here's the thing I'm curious about, Joffrey,
Iko-Iki
based on
will
the
be
next
represented.
comment. Let's say after the... Listen. Yeah, based on what I'm reading in the next comment, do you think they're going to add like a Shinto group for state Shintoism?
No, Shinto is in the Buddhism religion family.
No. I understand that, but that's because this version is clearly Buddhist. So what I'm saying is, historically at least, after the Meiji Restoration, there was like a new type of Shintoism created called state Shintoism. And that was clearly like focused on removing all of the Buddhist influences. So I'm saying, do you think they'll add that in EU5 as like a new group of religion?
No. I highly doubt that such a thing would be done. I have zero expectation that that would happen. I do love in the comment, though, the statement of categorizing Shinto under Buddhism feels as awkward to me as grouping Haitian voodoo under Christianity, which is a very fair statement. But it's also, at the same time, though, that's the only way I'd categorize it. Where would you put it if not there?
No, my problem isn't that it's under Buddhism. My problem
Oh,
is that
shit.
it's called Shinto.
Phone.
Because there's like 3 different types of Shinto.
Yeah, and I don't
Depending
think
on the
I think
time
they're
period.
only going to represent the one. Is my point. I don't think they're going to represent any of the other ones. I think the
That is
closest thing
disappointing,
to
but you're probably right.
I think that the closest we're going to get to ground, like the ground roots Shinto religion is what the Ainu have, whatever that is, which is probably just going to be called Ainu shamanism.
Probably.
Unless they come up with some actual flavorful name for it. Who knows? But we'll see. Roger coming in with the steel chair. No, the religious identity of Japan was clearly Buddhist, and that is why it is in the Buddhist group. Matt first back. Hope the daimyo flags are still work in progress. Yes. Black and white are common combination for flags in Japan. That's why there's so many of them. Yeah. And then everyone's commenting with informative. Yes, informative. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Respectfully disagree. Do you gain or lose honor from accepting or declining an ally's call to arms? No. I also respectfully disagree with that. I think you should. I think that is a great example of how you should. I think that
It's like
also...
one of the most obvious ones you can think of.
Yeah. Events, sure. But also, like, war? War should be... Because I guess... They've got the whole concept of you losing purity when you declare wars, but so much honor in for like the people that matter in Japanese society during this time are the samurai, and they get honor by kicking ass and
Well, it's not even the
cutting off
biggest
heads.
problem I have with that. The biggest problem I have is that declining a call to arms is considered a very big betrayal. That's why you don't do it. The whole point is that if you just leave your allies to die, that's like the ultimate betrayal. And people got mad at it like several times when it happened in historical like Japan.
Putting aside all of my grievances about, well, for the sake of gameplay, they've got this idea of, declaring wars gives you purity loss, and then that gives you bad honor because, it's interplay of do you want to focus more on conquest or the court? And, I can get that, it is what it is. But, the idea of declining an ally's call to arms, that is a perfect example of something that should be a very real minus honor because you're a dumb bastard and you declined the call to arms. Now you should be very careful when you're playing in Japan as a daimyo about who you accept allying with. And even once you've united the place, if you've united all of Japan, you still want to worry about your honor because you're still using that resource for your religion. So once you've united all of Japan, if you're making allies and you decline those call to arms, that should still then be affecting your honor in a similar way. It makes sense. Won't be easy. Yeah, you can restore the empire somehow. There's the option to abdicate, but not ruling from the shadows. You control the country, not the character. Yeah, if a character controls the country from the shadows, it doesn't really matter. Though there is one character at least in our mod that's going to be ruling a country from the shadows for centuries, and I'm still not sure exactly how to make that work. It'll be fun to think about, though. Localization stuff. Shogunate has too few political layers. Ah, yes! Ah, yes. Ah, how terrible. The difference between there being the greater clans and the normal clans. This is not enough. We need at least 5 different tiers of clans. Should have been at
I
least.
do kind of get his point because even ignoring the whole greater and lesser clan stuff, the actual like administrative positions in the shogunate should be really important because that was one of the biggest ways to get political influence.
Well, they say there is something for the Conray. So even if they aren't special statuses, there's something for it. I like the idea of it being a special status because we've already got the regional governors, so you could both be the governor of this area and then become strong enough to be the governor of all of this island as well. Like that would be interesting. But I don't know. There's 2 different IOs though. At the start, all of them are present in both. Yeah. Does Shinto have unique monasteries or generic ones? Matford clearly knows what the hell monasteries do. Then Matford, tell me. Matford, when and if you see this, tell me what the hell monasteries do. Tell me. Cooldowns. Yeah. They skill according to your country. Okay. Position of shoguns tied to the crown, to the court. A Christian daimyo would need to find alternative ways of getting control of the shogunate. What does that mean, though? What does that mean? How would you do that then? Is there an alternate way? They say find alternate ways. What does that mean? What is an alternate way then? Maybe they'll explain it, but I doubt it.
I mean, I would assume the alternate way is like, how do I put it? Surely you can just like inherit the shogunate because it is a dynasty, right?
Ah, I don't think that would be it. It'd
I mean,
probably be
what
through,
other way can you think of?
other than brute forcing it without having the CEB and just instead murderizing all of the other clans. I don't know.
Because again, Joffrey, we do have like actual dynasty trees, right? It's no longer just royal marriage gives you a royal marriage, right? There are actual characters that you have to marry,
Yeah.
which means there should be a way to marry in such a way that you inherit the shogunate.
Though, funnily enough, as we're talking about the shogunate, the last comment is again Matfer coming back talking about the immortal Yamato dynasty because it's yeah that they should survive theoretically, but it's interesting that there's some things trying to make them stay alive. So theoretically, you just can't. There's probably things that would just make it impossible for you to inherit the Yamato family with like
You
with
shouldn't be able
patrilineal
to
marriages
inherit
and
the
stuff.
Yamato family. That's stupid.
That like
The shogun is different though.
mhm.
Because the Yamato family, it's like if you do marry into them, you'd have to probably become a Yamato.
Yeah.
Like that's different
I
though.
don't know.
Like I could see, for example, your daimyo becoming a Yamato line, right? If you have some kind of matrilineal marriage or whatever. So if you get their dynasty on your throne, that's different. I just can't see you like supplanting their dynasty.
Yeah. That could be interesting. I don't know how that would work, but it would be interesting if you could theoretically actually yeah. I mean, you can request a marriage, so maybe it is possible to just become a Yamato uh family. But then no, I don't know how that would work then with the clans because they're all named this or that clans. You wouldn't be that clan anymore if the Yamato are suddenly on your for throne, for lack of a better term. Mm.
Maybe the names are dynamic and they change based on the clan that you have.
Would they then call it the Yamato clan? That wouldn't
Don't
feel
look at
right.
me. I don't know.
I am looking at you.
It would be funny though.
Hmm.
Like for example, right? Japan is called like is Ashikaga. I'm assuming if some other clan took over, it wouldn't be called Ashikaga anymore.
Right. Something else we can do before we wrap up this stream is I think glance at the feedback for Japan and Korea though. The edition of Shenyang? What the hell is Shenyang? Is that... Oh! There's a new Korean tag. Damn! There's now 3
I don't
Korean
know what
tags.
it is, but I
Neat.
guess it's historical. Huh?
Because there's the island of Tamna, I think. And then Shenyang, northeast corner, too. That's neat.
Wait, Joffrey, why is there 2 Shenyang? Look at the left.
Shenyang, and this is, um, wait. Oh, so this is the new one. What's this?
What is that
I-
Shenyang? I don't know what to tell you.
It must be a different name that just looks similar. The green one is Korean too. Okay, so the green one is the new Korean tag. The blue one is something else that was already there, and I just didn't know. Despite watching Generalist's video multiple times, I just didn't know. I guess okay. Oh, they're also Wangs.
Oh wait, no, Joffrey. I read about this part of the Goryeo dynasty because I was reading about the Goryeo dynasty earlier. It's pretty interesting. Basically, when they were working with the Yuan dynasty, right? They had like maneuvered their way into getting some control over that region. But then when the Yuan dynasty collapsed, they lost it. They were trying to solidify like a greater Korea, basically, or Goryeo within the Yuan.
So the idea is that they were worming their way more into the administration and were solidifying control over this land, which is like that's a big deal. That land is very valuable.
Yes, they were pretty close to because again they were like had several intermarriages with the Yuan. They were very entrenched in the court as well. That's why they were able to get this greater land grants.
Well,
Which is why it's the same dynasty as well.
that's going to be very interesting for gameplay wise as well. So yeah, as everything's collapsing, they're going to be in a prime position to join in on the chaos. That might be a fun country to play then, where you could theoretically at the very beginning focus on gobbling up the Manchurians and improving ties with the Korean heartlands, preparing to in time claim their throne and put your branch of the family on the throne and eventually unite. But
The one thing I'm curious about is if they'll have some kind of flavor around the Joseon. That's the next dynasty.
I wouldn't be surprised. Kingdom of Goryeo for now, but yeah. I mean, Wang is a legendary name. I played enough Three Kingdoms Total War to appreciate the Wang, but
Of course.
You love Wang.
Wang
I
Fire.
love Wang. I love Wangs. I know Dude Line loves Wangs. Yep. I was waiting for that one. Country rank and government types. Yeah, county. That's a big county. That is a big county rank realm for Shanghai.
Chonker County.
That probably has so many people living in it.
Smallest
Alright.
county in Asia.
I would expect they'd become a duchy at some point, if not already.
I'm sure they can press a button to do that. Yeah, they probably have more than enough people. Yeah, all the Manchurians are tribes. Oh boy, that's gonna suck to conquer. Integrating this land is gonna be so hard. You will need. Actually, I need to see the culture though, because I don't think you're gonna have many Koreans in the lands of Shenyang. You've just got the dynasty, but your primary culture might not even be Korean. Locations. Yeah, gosh, it's so small. The Wang is so small, but dense. It's a very dense Wang. Lots of bumps. It's very rocky. Gosh, the way this instantly jumps into such large tiles is crazy, though. It's super dense in the peninsula, and then immediately goes on to Dongo. Huge. Yeah, sometimes I worry when I'm drawing territories that I'm drawing stuff too snakily. And then I look at this and I see, actually, well, no, those are just 3 lines on top of each other, so I guess I'm doing fine. Yeah. Moving along, though, yeah, yeah, I like this topography a lot more. This is much better in regards to mountains and hills and such. I really just don't like the way that they initially went about. They've initially gone about their notion of what makes something a mountain. So I'm glad to see them adjusting that scope for Japan at least a bit here. Because Japan there was nowhere near enough mountains. Subtropical? I forgot. Yeah. A lot of Japan is subtropical. That's going to be really good for playing tall. You will not need to leave here, really. Though I don't remember. No, they had good resources too. Yeah, and farmlands. I don't think you'll need to really leave Japan for the game. You just sit there, set up a couple colonies for trade, really. Though, as we know, I say this, but also, according to Generalist at least, later in the game, production trumps the trade. Like, trade's really valuable early game, but later, as you produce more and more, it's just GDP for the sake of taxing your own people that gets you the most money. So, maybe it is worth it to actually conquer the larger lands in time. Yeah. Okay, Shenyang has a lot of Korean minorities, so it won't take that long for, if you're playing as Shenyang, to convert the Jurchen cultured people into Korean culture, especially if you're asking the 2 other Korean tags for migrants. So, oh. Also, the island, I guess. You could probably ask the island tag as well, because those are also your culture group, I am sure. Languages, yeah. A double check again. Yeah, there is some large minorities of Ainu in the north of Japan. That's fun. But yeah, languages. Court languages. Interesting that the court language of Shenyang is Korean. I'd kind of imagine that to be Mandarin. Religion, Eastern Buddhism. Yeah, they're just calling it Ainu. There's large minorities of Ainu in the
This is
north.
so sad.
Hey, but it's okay, Nam. You could just convert to Ainu religion as one of the northern daimyo and become just useless. It's fine. Please tell me the Ainu have some. Wait a second. Yeah, the Ainu don't actually have any tags. Right.
Wait, Jeffrey, go back down. Go back down. One second. One second.
Glorious society of Pop Ainu.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Where are we looking now?
No, I knew development.
Oh, the development. Yeah. Yeah, because they're a society of pops. They're not even tribal. They're a society of pops, so they've got no development at all. Bad. It's bad.
What's a road?
They're not even red. It's just literally black.
But what about the raw materials? Do they have any good raw materials up there? Trees, fish, beeswax.
Did you really expect good materials there?
I'm sorry, Joffrey. You can't play as the Ainu and take over Japan.
I do want to tell you that one of the biggest causes of the war in the Pacific was the fact that Japan is pretty poor.
They have so much fish. Look at all the fish dark. Lots of
Hey,
my
Joffrey,
god,
you
so
know what
much
they
fish
don't
in
have?
this.
They have
They
a
don't have
decent
coal.
amount of gold,
They don't have
but they really like coal, iron, and, well, other resources irrelevant in this time period. Yeah,
There's-
oil.
There is one coal there. There's
It's like
one
the only one.
tin.
You Joffrey, it's going to be really hard to industrialize as Japan.
Hey,
I think you can
Joffrey?
get to
4 iron.
I hope you like sushi
5.
because you got a lot of rice and fish.
There's 5 iron in there is more silk than iron in Japan. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Hey,
Joffrey,
start
it's
making
one area
sushi.
with... Yeah, but Derek, it's one area that has lots of natural resources that's right next to you?
Korea.
Whoa.
China and Korea. That's why Japan went there.
Yo, look at all of this.
But
Well,
Korea has more metals than South.
oh yeah, iron, coal,
No, look
coal.
at Manchuria, though,
How much
Joffrey.
coal do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They got 5 coal in Korea, and then iron 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's more iron in Korea than the entirety of Japan, I think.
Yeah. If you look at Manchuria, Joffrey, there's more iron and coal.
And then there's
There's a reason
more.
why Japan wanted to take it.
Yeah, there's another iron up there. There's more coal. There's 2 coal in Manchuria, in just the part of Manchuria you could see. Wow. Not to mention all the gems around here, which help with their, the jewelry economy.
And gold and silver.
Oh, but I mean, Japan's got plenty of gold too, though. Lots of gold.
Lucky for you, though, you don't have to worry about oil and rubber in this game.
Yeah.
You will.
Because I'll tell you, you won't find jack shit of that nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Japan has 5 iron provinces and Korea has 6. And Korea's got a shit ton more coal.
Plus
You see, Vector,
Manchuria right next
tall as
to it.
Korea is going to be great.
Hey, but you know what Japan does have? They've got 2 lead. Whoa!
Japan also does have a lot more silk. So it can pump out luxury silk products, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, have fun with your luxury silk products when you're not going to get any of the islands.
You could sell your fine clothes to Korea and buy their silk to make even more, and then sell that to China. Like I can imagine you could try and just force your way into being the clothes. Actually, you've got pearls too.
Instead of
So-
buying
so
their silk, you
pearls
could just take
and-
their provinces and make your own silk.
You've got pearls, gold, and silver. Like, yeah, you could make lots of jewelry too, because pearls are a substitute for gems in jewelry.
And yeah, Japan's actually got a lot of gold provinces. I count
Lots of
11,
silver too.
12.
Not to mention, I'm looking at least 7 silver. This is insane.
So probably 20-ish provinces of precious metals.
You got precious metal for days.
Yeah. And then the north of Japan is fucking useless for some reason. Why?
It's almost like that was how Hokkaido was in real life.
Why?
Also, the north was least populated. I'm not even just counting Hokkaido. I'm just talking like the north of Honshu, I believe is the island's name.
Japan has the military quality but poor on resources. Yeah, just you wait, those iron tiles, these few iron tiles, which are all at like the same spot, are all also going to have penalties due to the iron quality in Japan being ass. That's going to be a thing. Just you wait. They'll be like, eh.
No, Joffrey.
expect
The
in a
Japanese steel is beautiful. It's been folded
fully
10,000 times.
I fully expect in a player's hand that is going to become a massive industrial and population center.
There's copper
because they're
too.
trying to exploit the iron so much.
Like there's
Yeah,
also
flying
copper and
military.
pepper. Like there's also some
I
silver
love
next to it
pepper.
too. Yeah, there's actually a couple copper next to it. 3? No, there's a lot of stuff here. Actually, yeah, this is where you'd want to
Yeah,
hunker
and there's-
down
and
your
there's
industry for
some,
sure.
There's some tin on Kyushu as well. So.
But also, you've got dyes too. That's 2 dyes.
I don't think you're going to be doing much with selling dyes when there's like
Oh, for the
3 other
clothes.
countries that make way more than you.
Yeah,
Indonesia has all the dyes.
yeah, but
Well,
you're in a
at the
better
very least, you
spot
won't
at the
be
start
having-
than them.
At the very least, you won't have to be importing the dyes. There'll be enough for your own domestic industry because I imagine you
Yeah.
need dyes for fancier clothes and everything. So.
Got incense too. There's just a lot of things that you have on Japan, but there's a lot of things you really don't. And those things you really don't have are, I mean, you've got iron, You have some, but it's not enough. I highly doubt this is enough. Like, but
Not really.
this would be something you would need to hyper fixate on as a player, probably. You would need to just lock down those iron tiles if you want to make the best use of them, and just focus them making tons of just move tons of people there, but don't make it a city.
Jeffrey, you really think the best part about all of this? You're talking about the iron like you're gonna actually own any of it. I guarantee you, all the buildings on those iron provinces are owned by different clans.
That's the problem too, though. Yeah, because a lot of it is going to be ruled by, like, this is all from the subject of you playing the Shogun, and even then,
So even
so
as the
much of the
Shogun,
land.
you won't own any of the buildings in those provinces.
Yeah. Not to mention estates. Estates causing problems as well. Like, you're probably going to have no control. But lumber is actually kind of good. Yeah, as you're saying, Rasak, yeah, it's crippling if you don't have it. Importing, okay, like, we talk a lot about iron here, but stone and lumber are the big things for the building blocks of society, and they have no stone. They've got like 2 tiles of stone in the entire landmass.
Hey, Joffrey, there's a really nice place where you can get lots of lumber, and I think there's some marble and other stuff.
Okay,
in
they've actually got
Manchuria.
3. They've got 3. There's 3 iron. There's 3 stone provinces in Japan, like the colonized part of it. So there's a 4th up in the Ainu lands. So, and you can make stone producing buildings in mountains anyway. Like, it's not impossible for you to just generate stone anyway. But the point is, you don't have a lot of easy access to stone, and stone and wood are the most important things for actually building stuff, because you need you as not enough sand as well. Yes, not enough sand. Sand is actually important because all the religious shit, all the religious and noble stuff really needs that. That's no joke. It actually is going to be important. Clans in Rice Province, bad, East poor. Yeah.
Hey, Joffrey, I'm assuming, do you actually need a sand province to get sand,
No.
or can you just build it on coastal buildings?
No,
Or
you can
coastal provinces?
you can build sand pits even in landlocked tiles.
Oh, okay.
You can
I
just
was
dig
gonna
up
say,
sand.
like, sand is one of those things that's literally everywhere.
Yeah. It's just that, yeah, any place that has it as the resource is better, much better, in fact, at producing it. A place that has fish as its RGO is a lot easier to generate fish than a coastal tile that doesn't have fish as its RGO, where you make a fishing village. You can still do it. It's just not as effective. So
I love subsistence economy.
exactly. So the point with the stone is, there's not a lot of the stone resource, but they have a lot of mountains. So they'll be able to get plenty of stone. It's just going to take a lot of investment. So this is all a roundabout way of saying Japan is going to have a bit of a tough time getting started because they don't have a lot of stone. They've got some lumber, sure, scattered around, but so it's not going to be
Joffrey.
very controlled. Oh, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that you need stone in the markets. We need to go look at the markets map, which is right here. Cuz you need the stone and wood in like the separate markets. You need to worry about developing each one separately.
And this is the best part. Look at the market capital in the top one.
Yeah. Far north corner. What about it?
Oh no, I didn't see the stripe. I thought it was in the Ainu area. That makes more sense.
Okay. Izumi is there, and Aki, I think,
Okay.
is there.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's in the actual Japan. So there's something I was thinking about. But considering how many daimyos there are, right, in Japan, and they're all building based, does that mean you won't really have much control over building stuff because everyone else will start building buildings in your provinces?
Probably. That's actually a very good point. We don't know
I
how
was thinking,
daimyos
if you
build
want
stuff
to
yet.
develop a province, yeah.
And
You
yes,
want to
Eskimos.
develop a
Yes.
gold or something, right, to gain resources, but then everyone else will start building it before you, and then you can't do anything.
Because if the daimyo get to just make shit, if they just make shit, you're probably not going to like what they're making. and they're going to use those resources. They're using the market's resources. Now,
They're
mind
using the
you,
market resources and they're making all the profits.
mind you, I think it's probably okay if you're playing the Shogun, because when you're the Shogun, you probably have far and away the most market advantage, whichever the term was, I forget right now. But you probably have far and away, by an astronomical amount, the most market advantage, meaning you get dibs on the resources. So you get to use all of the wood and stone in Japan before the daimyos get to fight over the scraps. So it's just a win-win, actually, for you, I think. Because they will... Actually, oh, wait. There's another key thing, though. The local location uses it before it goes to market. So if a daimyo owns stone, they can just use it there before it gets sent to the market, I think, is how that works. It's a little weird. And even with generalist endless ranting, he doesn't have the capability to cover literally everything. So production profits are probably not that important. Having it in the market is more important. Let's say there's 4 tags in the market area and you can buy 50 stone. This is a lot, but now the market, there's 100 tags, 50 stones, not enough. So the thing, yeah. The thing with stone is that you desperately want to avoid having to purchase it from a different market at any cost, because it is the most heavy thing that exists for the obvious reasons. It is just horrible to transport. Like while we're on this rant, sorry Vector, if you're still here, like, it's okay if you want to go. Well, this is the maps.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna dip then. So have fun with the rest of the rant.
That's the plan. Thanks. You have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Here, Gemalt, you see, yeah, stone is super cheap. It is a incredibly cheap resource that only stuff like sand is less expensive than it. But it costs an absurd amount of transport to move it. It is 2.5 times as expensive to move it as ore. So the default is 1. Yeah, transport cost defaults to 1. So if it's not mentioned here, it just costs 1. But like horses cost 2. But like stone is only beaten out by fucking elephants, I think. It's like wood's just 1. Transport cost of 0.5 for gems. Easy as shit to move it around. Alum's 1. Spices is super easy to move. Elephants are just a default Elephants only cost 1 to move. Elephants are easier to move, theoretically. It's not specifying their weight. Yeah. So I think even there's nothing more difficult to move than stone. And this is all a long rant to explain that stone is the absolute worst thing you could possibly be trying to transport.
So should Lithrati be hard to transport?
Yes. They're no joke, Dark. I want to make them like very hard to kill, but have terrible initiative, or rather, no, have terrible combat speed and army movement speed. you don't once they get into battle, and that is a when. It will take a while, but once they get into battle, they'll be there. But it takes them a while to get into the position. You know, also they just don't have cavalry.
No, you see, you actually stack wipe them beforehand.
It's like, yeah. You got to catch them out of position, because that's the whole point with them, is that they're fucking impossible to kill. With like, if you swing a sword at them, the motherfucker's gonna break your sword. Anyway, mod rant, but damn, it's gonna be so fun to mess around with modifiers like that. I can't wait. I can't wait. I need to do more map painting later. I gotta do more adding provinces so that we can actually start like messing around with some CK3 stuff.
Joffrey. This is just making me think in vanilla EU4 or EU5. Once these starts getting later into the game, can you imagine how market access will look later on? Where you just see like European markets start snaking across the seas?
Maybe. Maybe.
Or you'll like look at Japan, the coast of Japan, and there'll be like 100 Dutch ships just off the coast trying to take as much trade as possible.
I don't think it's going to work how you're implying because
You don't think that it would be like you'd be able to have that much far market reach?
so the the dynamic markets are dynamic because markets will appear and disappear dynamically and what they own changes as well. But the game has not changed to the point where your goal is to make the whole world in your one market. As the game
Oh, that's
goes
not what
on
I'm
and you get
saying.
more
What I'm saying is,
control and access and like transport speed is better and shit, you'll have like all the British Isles, for example, in the London market, but I don't think you're ever going to have it be a case where uh the entire eastern coast of the Americas is going to be in the London market. I think that in
okay.
that I think that what having those Dutch trade posts and other such things doing over there, what the point of that is going to be is you will be getting a more market control in someone else's market so that you get to decide what happens to the goods there sooner. So if you have a higher market advantage than the dude who owns the market, they get the profits from the trades being done, but you can choose to pull stuff out, is the point. Um,
So you're
but,
saying it's not a case of you just like making your market bigger. It's just getting influence in other people's markets.
yes, I also do think
Okay.
though that trade. I think that trade ports are going to be the equivalent of a treaty port is actually going to be a crucial aspect of the game. I think that we have seen from generalists videos, there is a meta that I really don't like that I hope is changed in some way, but I don't know how you change it. Where you conquer a bunch of land around some market center that already exists, and you keep the market center itself so that you maintain the profits from the trades being had, but you give all the land around it to a vassal. It looks really stupid, but I can understand the reason you do it, and it has some logic.
That is
But
basically how what you do in EU4 with trade centers.
with trade centers, yeah, there is some, yeah, it does carry over from that as well to a degree. But my point is more so that if you're expanding into Asia, the New World, and such, if you're the Dutch, you might not give a shit about colonizing vast swathes of the New World. You might just take New Amsterdam and colonize Long Island and all that, like the Bay, and just sit there, make it into a trade center, so a market, make it into a market capital, industrialize the hell out of it, and try and grab and then extend as much of that region into your own market as you can, not worrying about who owns it. That it will be would be a case there where you would expand your own market, where you would both have the Amsterdam market at home in Europe and then also one here in the New World, where you are trying to expand its influence in the New World just as much as your one at home. And then this one in the New World you can use to either build up the stuff in New Amsterdam as well as bring resources back to Europe because you need more wood and shit. Does that make sense? That's what I think it's going to be like.
No, that makes sense.
Rant. Yeah. I think we can end this rant here, though, now. My throat's starting to get sore. I haven't yapped this much in a while. I'm a little unused to it. So, with that, well, thank you all for watching. It's good to be back, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye. Bye bye.